Okay, so let's get down to it. Meat and potatoes, the fun stuff here. If you just did your regular Battle Pass events, didn't buy any point packs, which I did not, I opted not to. I changed my mind. I was thinking about it. We talked about it on Sunday, and I was like, no, you know what? I'm just going to wait till Tuesday, and then I'm going to get the blueprints, and then I'm going to build the cube. And we're just going to do it live on stream on Tuesday. So that's going to put me to 85, and this will get me another 20 more from the bottom half. I have 5 extra because I did some of the holodeck mission, the cube, which does give you 5 extra blueprints in the first couple of milestones. Then it gets to the build the cube as what you have to do to advance the storyline. So for those of you who are not buying the Battle Pass, who are completely free to play, make sure you do that holodeck mission because it'll give you a couple extra blueprints. So if you do want to buy the cube next month in the event store, it's less blueprints that you have to spend event store currency on. So we're going to take care of that. It is a battleship. There's our Borg Cube. It's a 4-star epic that starts for me at 3.2, which is about half of what my 3-star epic Augur starts at. So definitely going to have a bit of a process to upgrade. But we're going to go through the refinery. We're going to go through using the cutting beam to get the technological distinctiveness. We're going to go through the refinery. We're just going to go through the loop and the cycle and everything. And one of the best places that you can go is anywhere where you can find access to this chart. The STFC Officer Tool Discord is a great place, though, for keeping access to all your charts. So while we're waiting for that to finish building there, Blue Mandalorian, Jules Verne, and their community have put together a number of good graphics. This being an important one, showing you what the pulls are from the refinery. So to do a 3-chest pull of the refinery, you need 500 technological distinctiveness. You get the technological distinctiveness from using the cutting beam to inflict the death blow on a hostile. At this tier, you're killing level 28s. They're dropping 50 of them. You have to kill 10 kills in order to get enough to do your triple pull. You're going to get a whole bunch of these things. The shape memory alloys are what you use to upgrade your cube. The advanced cybernetics are what you use to do your research. There is another chart over here. Yes. This secondary chart kind of shows you, this is the one where you're talking about, how far can you tier it up based on what your current ships are and their standard tier levels and things. Also shows you what the damage is of your cutting beam. So we're starting off with tier 1. My cutting beam is going to do 23,000 points of damage. So if that has to inflict the death blow, I need to be hitting things that have 22,999 hull health or less to make sure that my cutting beam gets the kill. So then I get my biological or technological distinctiveness. And from the charts, we can tell that they want me to go up to killing 28s for that. There is another chart. I think it's this one. That kind of tell you what systems and stuff to go to, because that's where you'll find the hostiles, what kind of level range you're looking at for finding hostiles that you can one shot, one kill, and take them down. So we're starting around level 27 systems, then we're kind of moving up into the low 30s for tier 2 and tier 3. Now I've seen some people who will just they'll try and go double shot something, right? Like this takes 23,000 instead of killing level 28s and getting 50. I'll double shot a level 33 That takes 46,000 and get 82. That's less times I'm probably still using my cutting beam the same amount, but they feel like they're getting more loot per pull. So some people like to do this method instead. Maybe they feel like it's less back and forth because it's faster to charge the cube if you're hitting things in higher level systems as well. We'll get to that in just a second. So let's keep these guys up. We'll just minimize those in the background for now. You can time your cube. Yes, every time you tier up your cube, it does also reset your refineries. So keep that in mind as well, just like everything else. Hey, Daddy Dave. Be careful, the math in the beam doesn't always work. Well, geez, that sounds that sounds fun. Well, there's our cube, kind of working in there. You can only see part of it. But we're going to go ahead and speed this along now. The darn thing's so big it doesn't come out of your space dock. Looks like they're building it from an orbital platform adjacent to your space station. It does need some epic music. One other thing to keep in mind, the technological distinctiveness that you get dropped from using the cutting beam to kill something is not considered loot. So therefore, officers like the Doctor and 5 of 11 and things like that do not increase the payout. This is going to tell you more about what you have to do. Use the cutting beam to destroy targets, earn technological distinctiveness. Do this at the refinery, get this, build your ships, make stuff bigger. Okay. Where is my cube? What about an Enterprise EMH officer that does increase the loot? Maybe someday. And we'll just swap them, so we're using the right officers. So stat-wise, again, it's a level 1 ship. It's a G3 caliber ship, what's starting out at 3.5 million for me, obviously because of my ops level. The ship's going to take a while before it starts to make any progress. What kind of upgrades can we do? Well, I do have a little bit of this that I've gotten from events so far, so I could make an upgrade or two, but I'm not going to do that just yet because I need quite a bit. What are we talking about here? 260, 150, 400, 600, that's almost 800, 1.1, 1.4, it's probably about 1.8 or so that you need to actually do anything with it. We'll go to our refinery real quick. Is it in the Borg Tech refinery? Let's see where it is. It's not here. Alright, so in the support refinery, this is where I can do my refine. This is where I would convert my technological distinctiveness to get my alloys and to get my advanced cybernetics for my research. Also, now I'm going to get a whole bunch of gift chests because based on this handy dandy chart that we had back here, one of these, this one, I have some of these ships already. So I'm meeting certain tier requirements of some of these ships, probably the Valdor at tier 6, the Pilum at tier 6, the Tribune at tier 4. I don't know if my Tribune is tier 7 or tier 8. I probably have an Augur or a D4 or something like that that I haven't scrapped yet floating around. So I'm getting a bunch of these different data links Ooh, getting a bunch of tier 4 ones. So I might have a bunch of them floating around that I haven't scrapped yet. Go ahead and claim all this stuff. This will be very helpful when I am ready to start tiering this thing up. And I'll have multiples of some of these, so I could go ahead and tier up multiple cubes someday. A little bit of a process doing some claiming stuff. Max, you're guessing the cube won't do well in Borg solo modas? No, it does not currently have anything that gives it the damage bonus. It's not a faction ship or a Talios or anything like that, or a jellyfish. So it is currently not getting any of the damage modification that those other ships are getting. All right. Realistically speaking, if I'm looking at hull health, this one's got 24,000, so that might be a little too big. The interceptors tend to have lesser hull numbers than like the battleships and explorers and things. Like that one's so this is a level 28 explorer. So that one would be a little easier. So we'll just take the cube here for now. Charging up your super laser is based on damage inflicted when just attacking. So obviously the higher level things you hit, the faster you're going to charge up the beam. Then you have to use the beam to then kill the thing. You'll see a lot of people will warp back and forth and hop between systems in order to make that happen. As we see this guy right over here, bam, just charged up and just took out that 28 that I was eyeing up for that exact same reason. There are a variety of places you can do this stuff at. I see a lot of people over here in, Romulan space, in this area, taking on stuff. I see a lot of people go up here to Janu, which is one of the systems we saw in the tier 3. They'll kill stuff in here, or they'll kill stuff in the swarm system, charge the beam faster, and then just warp back and forth between these two systems. So why rush it? Is this loop a game changer? Well, it does give you access to some decent research. You need the Borg Cube and those shape alloys so you can start doing some of this research and stuff out here. You're getting, again, depending on how much of this you can do and get done, this is standard mitigation bonuses for all your ships, officer bonuses for everything, shield health bonuses to every ship, hull to every ship. The numbers aren't great, but, they are universal applications. More kinetic damage, more energy damage, and eventually more critical hit damage, and lowering their critical hit damage. So there's some decent research in here that does require you to get the cube, rolling in order to do some of this stuff. I think what the problem is for the cube, and why a lot of players find it underwhelming, is because they wanted it to appeal to a wide variety of players. So it started off very low here. As you see, it's, an ops. Basically, it's the equivalent of like an ops like 30 ship, 32 ship. So tier 1, for most players in the game, is weaker than anything that they have. So they're just like, oh great, what's the big deal about this thing? Bam, there you go, technological distinctiveness. I used my cutting beam, I killed one of those things. That gave me 50 technological distinctiveness, just like it says on our handy dandy little chart. Now it's back to grinding to level this thing up and charge it up. Depending on what level hostiles you're hitting, it will charge faster, which again is why you see people warping back and forth. You know, once this thing gets up significant tiers and people can actually start like using it as that second or third ship in there, whether you're using it as a second or third ship for grinding or a second or third ship for, you know, solo armadas or things like that, its biggest benefit is that it grows along with you. So, you know, unlike other ships that get left behind and end up in the scrapper, this one's just going to continue to grow and get better. That's not very exciting day one. It'll be very exciting 6 months or 12 months from now when instead of having another specialty ship that you never really take out and use for much of anything, you're still using this one. I think that's supposed to be the big allure and big draw of it. It's all very practical and logical, and we like to see the progression and actually being able to keep things around. And bam, there you go. There's another cutting beam. Let's see if we can't move this along a little faster. We can warp between systems pretty quickly. What's my warp time? About 5 or 10 seconds. Are there there's no hostiles left in Yarda because of all of these? Wow. There are so many hostiles frozen out of bounds that there are no actual hostiles that spawn in the system anymore. Interesting. Yeah, the firing pattern on it is pretty spectacular. It's 12, 12, 6. Yeah, wow, these systems are all messed up now. All right, that's not going to work. Let's go at least over here. SK didn't even start the Monavine loop yet. Well, the Monavine's certainly a lot harder to acquire unless you have one of the special territories. Maybe that's a ship we'll see in the Battle Pass as well next month to help speed that along for players who don't have access to G3 territory. This might charge these things a little bit faster. And not much. It's the same on your server too, Olympus? Yeah, a lot of these systems are kind of jacked up now because of all the auto spawning. So there's a bunch of different systems you can play around with this stuff in. You know, obviously charging something here would be very beneficial, although it's going to have to warp you a little further. The swarms are probably better ones. In the chat, they're saying, go kill stuff in Ortec. All right, let's go here. Let's go here and take a look. Because we're talking about a lot of hull health here. A lot of hull health, which means a lot of damage being inflicted. So it should charge up really fast. And then to go from Ortec to Nywillan right here. Should be able to find same size hostiles that have about 22,000 health right there. Yeah, charging the beam requires you to do damage. You can see right here it's giving you a little indicator. So there's no cooldown on it. Spoiler alert, if you were planning on using this in PvP, if you hit any target with the beam and don't kill it, it gets a 30-second shield that prevents it from being hit by a beam again. That's both PvE and PvP, so keep that in mind. And I'm sure there's a variety of systems around the galaxy that you could do this kind of stuff in. Again, the trick is just making sure you're hitting level 28 ships at first, or whatever you're hitting. You're either doing 23,000 damage, or you're going to have to hit it again. So battleships are not good, because they've got 24,000 health. So bam, there we go. One of them dead. Let's go back. Just keep going back and forth. Bam, one hit, one charge. Kill that guy. 5 seconds, then warp. Find a level 28 explorer. Zap it with the beam. Other thing you do you have to be careful of, just watching your cargo to make sure you've got enough. Which is also a benefit of killing swarms, because the swarms will give you less stuff that'll fill up your inventory. And as you tier up your cube and you're able to hit things of higher levels, you won't have to do as much warping back and forth. Why do you want the cube? Well, the research helps for you right now. Day one, it's about the research. Months down the road, the cube itself will be, it's like the Franklin, right? The Franklin stunk tier 1. It wasn't better than your other ships at killing swarms. It wasn't until you got up to like tier 5 that suddenly it started to replace your, other ships in that loop. And then, see, like this isn't gonna, there's an interceptor I can hit, okay. And then you got to like tier 5, and now it's starting to turn the corner a little bit and be a little bit better at killing stuff. But then you had to get it to, tier 6, tier 7, and now suddenly it's better than your other ships at killing swarm hostiles, certainly cheaper to repair. The cube's going to follow a similar path. It's not going to be amazing for doing a lot of stuff for the first handful of tiers. You have other ships that are better than it. It's the further down the road thing. The problem is that if you don't start using it right now, you're never going to accumulate, again, like the Franklin, you're never going to accumulate the materials that you need to do the upgrades to get it to the point where you're going to be happy about it. So, there's the catch-22, I guess. The ship will never be better than your best ship, not until you get to Op 70. At Op 70, it's allegedly will be better than your best ship. The road until then, stat-wise and power-wise, it's supposed to be your second best ship. So it'll be nice to have, again, for alternate farming or armadas or solo armadas or things like that. But then again, this is the way Scopely designed it, and they say that it's never going to be better than some of your other ships. They don't always test things very well now, do they? So there's a good possibility that they could just be wrong about that. Obviously, you guys who've had this for a week, you're still like a lot unless you invested in it. It's still like tier 4, tier 5. Still not doing a lot of stuff. But with the people who have it, tier 9, tier 10, maybe they've got more exciting results with it. I don't know. It does. Crispy Pete points out something useful. If you are someone who just, gets one faction ship and just builds one thing, this does save you a whole lot of faction credits and a whole lot of grinding, because now you don't need to upgrade a secondary ship. I don't need to have a Pylum and a Coronar, or, I don't need to push my Valdor as high. I got a Pylum, but I'm still struggling in solos. So now I got to push this Valdor higher so I can work on whatever solos I'm doing. Well, no, I wouldn't upgrade those secondary ships that far, because they're just going to end up sitting in my dock or sitting in the scrap heap. I would push the cube because it's going to continue to come along with me the whole way. Now I don't necessarily need to acquire some of those other ships. Could be a benefit of it too. It's a good point there. Never need to get a faction battleship again. Presumably, this would probably replace a lot of that for you. Plus you get this fun little graphic where you get to use your little Death Star or Death Beam and kill stuff. Yeah. Cookie seems very excited about it. And, it's going to be one of those things that's just going to take time. Players are just going to have to be patient with it. Or, if you follow along with what they would like you to do, obviously you'll spend to invest to get it up faster. You'll be frustrated that your cube isn't good, so you'll buy packs and things like that. I mean, what do we even have available? Now that we have a cube unlocked, there's probably a cube upgrade pack, right? Well, there's the upgrade. There's the unlock pack, because I didn't buy that. But here's the advancement pack, which currently gives me 14 million of these, which I think we said gets you almost all the way to tier 5. You guys, this will vary server to server. I know some of you were saying yours was 13.5 million or things like that. So there will be some diminishing returns on it. So it's obviously got the best firing pattern. Yes, that's the other thing too that I'm excited to see, and that's where I think Scopely may have messed up when they're like, oh, it'll just be your second best ship. In terms of power number, it might be your second best ship. The fact that how many weapon shots this thing has, though, per round, if you have the right officer combinations and stuff with it, and the people who exponentially add shots, or who, like Hugh, gives you every shot as a critical. Instead of shooting 4 times a round, you're shooting 12 times a round. That's 12 criticals. Even if each shot does slightly less damage, it might make it up in the aggregate. You don't have that one big punch knockout power. You've got punches in bunches. You hit a guy 6 or 7 times, you don't need to hit him with the big haymaker. You just tagged him 6 or 7 times with smaller punches. You hear that all the time in the UFC. Some of these guys, they don't have that big lightning hand that just knocks the guy down in one shot. But if you tag them 5 or 6 times in a row, you can be just as destructive, sometimes even more so. Also seems like it's dependent on tier. That could be a thing too. Obviously, it's tiering up the pack. At tier 1, it's only going to offer me a little bit here. I lost count. How many times have we done this? Oh, we did that 5 times. All right. Awesome. Let's go take it back. That's the other thing too. It does go into your inventory. So do make sure you got to go drop this stuff off. Picked up a couple of 7 and 9 shards for our trouble. Thank you very much for that. Firing pattern is front loaded too, so Freeman for PvP should work well on it. Yeah. I mean, as far as DPR and stuff goes, again, the weapon shots aren't the biggest. but it definitely has potential. Let's look at some of these swarms. Like how long are these fights going? Fight only went one round. I'm hitting 57,000 a time. Like, okay, there's a crit for almost 500,000. Lorca didn't even put a hull breach on it. That's just crit damage bonus on that particular weapon. 250. Yeah, the swarm's charged. The swarm shot me twice. 3 times. Okay. And Hugh didn't proc at all. Oh, you know what? Is he in this dock? Oh, I don't have any officer slots yet. I'm like, why didn't Hugh work? Because I don't have any officer slots activated yet. Now I should. He's not in slot 1. Whoops. We can fix that. All right. So now we have a whole bunch more. Oh. Let's do our regular refineries real quick. Yeah, let's look at the SMS here real quick too in just a second, after I finish up claiming this stuff. Just do these real quick. All right, so we go to our support tab. Now here's our tier 1 cube refinery. We have our 500 technological distinctiveness. Unfortunately, it is, it scales up pretty bad. 50 for 1, 150 for 2. This is a 10 times rate for the 3 chest, but early on you want to try and do this as much as possible. Like we said, it's going to cost about 1.8 million to tier this up. So that's like 3.5 days. So Friday, I'll be able to tier this cube up. Unless, of course, I've gotten some additional rewards from something. I know that there's a little bit in some of the battle pass, and there's also another 375 coming up here on the bottom in a day or two. So probably closer to 3 days. For when you get the cube, you'll be able to tier it up. There is also an upgrade to cube event coming up soon, per our calendar. What was it, Eco just talking about? Something like that. An additional run of Upgrade the Borg Cube will occur from November 16th to November 17th. So that again, Thursday into Friday. So save your materials for the first couple days to coincide with that event. You'll do your upgrades. Then you can tier your cube up and then trigger this again. See if there's any other good spots around here. Well, let's go back to our chart. So we know our cube does 23,000 damage. If we go to Janu, look at some of these Gorn Marauders, they have 46,000 hull health. Now that would be a double shot. On these guys. $46,005. So that's slightly bigger than 46,000. So that actually wouldn't do it in 2 shots. You'd have to kill 32s, I think. Nope, they're bigger than 46,000 as well. Okay. Like I said above, don't forget they added an extra upgrade to Cube event. Literally what we were just talking about, Stewie, but thank you for the reminder. Lube and me as Spitting Fire, we upgraded ours as that event wasn't there. You upgraded yours today. You got it today, started upgrading it today, and then Eco came out with the announcement, hey, by the way, guys, 4 hours after this stuff rolled out, we've decided we're adding another. I hope you guys have all had fun playing with your cube today, because now there's an event to upgrade it coming soon to a theater near you. Where else do people go? Here they go. Burawin, I think, is the system that has some good 28s and stuff in it. I know somebody was also saying they go, is it here? These might be too big. Those are 31. But the interceptors are lesser health. Yeah, the Klingon skirmishers here have 22,000 hull health, so you can kill them. And what about these supply ships? All right, they got a little bit better, 50k. So you could try and grind on the 31s with a little more hull health. See if that'll level it up, charge the beam a little bit faster, and then just kill some of these guys. Or you could warp back and forth between the 31 and the 38 system. Go to the 38 system, as we see a couple cubes floating in here. Kill the bigger hostiles, and then warp back to the 28 system and use the beam there to kill stuff. Cargo space is an issue, for sure. Something to watch out for. Samo, thank you for stopping by. Have fun with whatever you're running off to go do. That's true. That's a lot of loot right there. You're going to fill up pretty quickly if you're killing those. So something else to keep an eye on. All right, so let's do this. Let's go to the 38 system. And obviously you could warp back and forth between Burawin and Adelphi, kill Swarm, go to Burawin. So there's a variety of places. Okay, so that guy, that was a level 36, I think I killed. Or 38. That was a 36, and that got me 50%. So I'm killing 2 of these guys. Beam charged up. Just pop right in here to Rekar and zap one of these guys. Not a bad system to work from. A little bit of back and forth, but and this is a lot of the things that Blue and Jules were testing when they were putting stuff out there, but they didn't have time to test every system, and they freely admitted that. There's a lot of different combinations going on out there. Let's go to Adelphi. So, not bad. You kill 2 36s. Maybe if I can get if you see a 38 in a system like this, you could do more damage and charge it up on one of these things a little faster. But we know for a fact that swarms charge it really well. So you come in here, hit one of these guys. Now it's fully charged. Now we warp back to Birowin. Now the problem with Birowin is that there's a lot of 27s in here, not 28s. Which means I'm not going to get full loot value. So that's not the ideal system there. And Bliss, this has all 31s. Which have a lot more hull health. It'd be nice to find things that are very high level but have very low hull health. I'm gonna guess there aren't really things like that that exist in the game though. See, because if I use my cutting beam on a 27, I get less loot. Some people charging stuff in Galorndon Core. Again, 27s, 29s aren't going to, obviously the 28s are going to be very heavily farmed, especially today because it's launch day, right? So you're going to always have a little bit of trouble finding a good spot to go to. A spot where you can hit something and then move next door and hit something better. So that's just something to keep in mind. And obviously you want to do it in a spot where there aren't too many stops in between. What about Phelon? It's got a lot of 28 battleships. They've got just too much health there, just over 24,000. So that's not a good system either. And I'm pretty sure these guys have, well, there's only 27s and 29s. Now here's a system with a bunch of 28 explorers, which seems like it would be pretty perfect. This is Oppidum pulvis, all right, which is right next to DeLong, one of our swarm systems. So again, come in here, kill a swarm, fly to Oppidum, Optimus Prime over here. This could be another good one. Stu, you guys were having fun. You were using Rialtas and Orions on like 35s and 38s, trying to like wear them down to the point where that could be another strategy too, right? If you fight bigger targets and only do partial damage to them and get them weak enough so then you can come in and finish it off with the cube, you could potentially find yourself being able to punch up and hit things that are a little higher. Now you just have me curious where you want me to go, like, test some stuff, right? If I take my Rialta and go attack like a 32. It's a very tiresome strategy, I can imagine. Let's just say, presumably speaking, could my Rialta even do much in the way of damage? This combination right here seems to work pretty well, this little triangle. You'll charge in here at tier 1, you'll kill stuff in Oppidum pulvis. As you move up and progress, you'll kill stuff in Janu. I have a feeling this is going to be a pretty popular area for cube leveling. and then eventually moving up to a CT and veneer here for higher level targets. Yeah, this is a nice little cluster of systems that has a good range of stuff that's easy to charge up on and stuff that's easy to use the cutting beam for.